How's it going, everybody? It's Matt again, and today we're going to take a look at the second release for Craftsman Toys Computron set that they're making. We have the DJS-02B Burst Gallop and DJS-02C Lightning Strike or Light Strike. This is going to be their Legend Scale Afterburner and Scattershot. And I gotta say, I really like that they decided to make these 2-packs now, because Nosecone was just by himself, and then I guess now they're going to be making this one a 2-pack, and then when we eventually get Strafe and Lightspeed, they're also going to be a 2-pack as well. So hopefully we can get these guys a little bit quicker than what we normally would. Because if you watched my review of Nosecone, I thought that was a really, really good figure. So they've been really kicking butt with these guys. So here's the box, here's the front, and I like the way they made this box actually, because they kind of acknowledged that it's a 2-pack in a way where they have split the design of the box. So if you look at the side, look, it's like it's cut in half all the way around. So here is for Afterburner and Scattershot. It's like cut in half. It's kind of cool how they did that. I don't know, something about it, because this box is quite large. It's like a big cube. But yeah, so there it is from all the sides, and here it is on the back. So, because there's quite a bit in this box. So there that is. And then of course we're going to have our obligatory cards here you have for Afterburner and for Scattershot. There it is in the back. They're kind of cheap cardboard cards. I don't know if anybody cares about these things, but they are there. And we also have this big booklet for the instructions, and they are decent. Actually, it's not even a booklet. It's a big fold-out, like, pirate's map. Jeez, look at that. So yeah, and they're decent instructions. They're all right. Like pictures with highlighted bits to show you what you gotta move. Does decent, but yeah. Instructions. It's going to come with a bunch of accessories. We'll start with the combiner parts. It's going to come with 2 of these different faces. One of them is actually on Computron's head, which is inside of Scattershot's body. The other one's just kind of like a straight face. This is more of like a grimacing face. But the teeth aren't, like, the teeth are molded, but they're not painted, which is kind of bizarre. So he's going to have orange teeth. I think it would have been probably better if they had painted the teeth white, but it's not that big of a deal. I'm probably never going to use this face anyways. So we have that. We have a combiner fist. It does have kind of a ball joint for the wrist. All of the fingers here at the knuckles are on ball joints, and then we have 2 little pins for each individual finger joint. And then for the thumb, we have a ball joint and then 2 pins, just like the others, and you know, makes for a decent, nice articulated combiner hand. So we have a combiner hand. We also have the combiner gun, big old gun. The handle here does flip out. Doesn't have a stopper, but it does flip out, and of course the combiner hand can hold that no problem. But we'll go over, of course, the combiner stuff when we actually get all of the members. I'm not going to bother with that too much here. And we do have the combiner waist that it comes with. This part just flips down and unlocks it, and then these can just come down, adjust the thighs, rotate them around, put that back up, and then there we are. There's the combiner hips. So yeah, of course we'll go over this another time. But we're going to come with a few accessories for Afterburner. We're going to come with this little kind of like scoped SMG thing, which is kind of cool, kind of interesting. Nice molded detail on that. And we're going to come with 2 of these extra little cannon things, and they have these little handles that you can flip out. Well, you might be able to. I don't know if I can. Let me see. There we go. We have these little handles that you can flip out so that he can hold them, or they can peg into the vehicle mode, which I will show shortly. And we're going to come with Scattershot's gun, which is just a big white piece of plastic with some silver painted on, or gunmetal rather, and the little handle here you can just flip down. So yeah, decent. But here they are. So here is Scattershot, and here is Afterburner. Very nice. Obviously, Scattershot is the leader, so he's the big boy, big old futuristic jet. Of course, I'd drop it. Futuristic jet-looking thing, or Cybertronian jet. And then we have Afterburner here, which is kind of like a motorcycle thing. A lot of people I saw on like TFW were kind of upset that Afterburner wasn't like a motorcycle. He's more of like a tricycle, but I don't really mind it. I don't mind this design. I think he looks fine. Maybe he would have looked better with just one single wheel, but it doesn't bother me in particular. So I wouldn't, you know, it's whatever. These guys are kind of stylized anyways. They're not true G1 like some people would probably want. They are definitely a little bit more like TFC-ish in the way where they're just kind of like stylized but similar. But I think it works well for the Technobots because they're kind of just out there designs anyways. But I guess we'll start with Afterburner. We'll set Scattershot back there. Afterburner, he's got these nice wheels. They do roll pretty well. They're a little squeaky, but he does roll. There it is. It got some nice clear parts here on the top. All in all, pretty decent looking. You can definitely see his shape down there at the bottom, but it's not that big of a deal. He can, of course, put his weapons on him. You can take the kind of big guns and you can put them to either side in these little posts. You can have them up there. You can put them down here if you want. If you want them to look like that. You can take his little pistol here and plug it in there. You can plug it into that little hole. Like, there's a bunch of different places where you can store this if you want to. So we'll go ahead and pull these off for now. And so let's go ahead and get him transformed. So the first thing we're going to do is there's like a little dovetail peg in here on these wheels. You're just going to kind of lift up off of those and move them up so you can get them up out of the way. You're just going to kind of lift up the arms here to the side. And then what we're going to do is take these kind of armatures here. We kind of want to get the arms out of the way. We're going to take these armatures here. We're just going to kind of take them down like so. They're attached to each other. Bring them down so they're out of the way of this kind of orange piece here. And then this clear part right here, and be very careful doing this, but you want to kind of put your fingernail or something in here and lift up because this is all just one clear piece. We've seen with nose cone how some people have broken near these joint parts on these clear parts. Just be very careful of this. Just lift up on here and it comes off these two little tabs. Just get that out of the way. And then what we're going to do is just kind of take this whole back section and just lift up. It pegs in back here. It's going to untab from that and rotate it all the way down and around like this. And then we're just going to separate the legs. And then these kinds of, let me see, the front. These panels here on the front, you're just going to lift this up. You're going to lift up these panels like this, or here, I'll just do one leg. Lift up this panel, and then this section here, you're going to untab that clear part and rotate it all the way around to the other side like this. You want it to be in this orientation. And then you're going to take the foot and you're going to rotate from the back, twist it all the way around. You're going to bring the toe and lift it up, and then this part will just go back down into the leg and tab like this. And then the back part, this part here, is just going to come off and rotate around like this, and that peg is going to peg into the back of the calf like that, right? Am I doing that right? Okay, so it's on a slider. You want to kind of push it in a little bit and then rotate around, and then it pegs in like this. It took me a second to figure that out. So this, and then on the other side, we're going to go ahead and do the same thing. Just lift up this panel, take that clear part, rotate it around into this kind of orientation, push the foot through the bottom, flip out the toe, and push this back in to the leg like this until it pegs together here. Lift this up off of that panel, push it in a little bit, bring it around to the back of the leg, and snap it in place. And there are the legs. And now for, let's see, the torso part. So we're going to take this orange section and just lift it up off of there. I'm just going to go ahead and bring it down. These two little orange panels, you're going to flip inside like this. And you're going to bring this back up. And it should peg in, I think, right back like this on that secondary peg. Like that. I believe so. Get this all out of the way. Or no, maybe it goes peg in like that. But this panel here, you're going to fold back down against this section right here. And then basically we're just going to take these kind of arm sections here and just kind of lift them up and get them all the way up like this. You kind of want to get them past these little orange pieces right here. I'm realizing that I had that wrong. You want this to be down, and they're gonna, this backpack part is gonna plug in like this, and then lift these kind of arm sections up like this, and then rotate them back down like this. So it should clean up and kind of look similar to this. And now we're gonna come around to the front, and this panel here, you're gonna lift that up, and then this entire tire section will just rotate back like this and kind of lock everything in place, and you can put that back down. And we're going to come around to the front. We're going to open up these back panels here, and without tearing up my fingers, I'm going to try to get his wrist out. I know this can be kind of a pain. There you go. Go ahead and get his wrist out. Those little dovetail things have torn up underneath my fingernails before, and I didn't want to do that again. So open this panel, push on that, get these open. There we go. And there is Afterburner. And he's a decent looking little dude. I really like the design choices. So let's get in a little closer on him. Like he's got like orange paint here, got some, or not orange paint, gold paint here. Got some nice gunmetal kind of painted throughout. Some nice little painted details, nice sculpted details all the way around. It was a decent little transformation too. It wasn't too bad. He's got a heck of a backpack, but I mean, he's a Technobot. They kind of all have that. There it is with the head. I will say the head looks a little funky just because of how the visor actually goes on. It looks kind of weird. Doesn't look like a visor. It looks more like a dude wearing safety glasses, which I guess might be the point, but I don't know. But looks pretty good. Let's just get straight into articulation then. His head, obviously it's on a ball joint, so it can go side to side, it can go back a little bit, forwards a little bit, rotate all the way around, no big deal. The shoulders are attached up high, so you can get them out, but they do look a little funky doing so. You can rotate here. You can't really rotate very far. I guess you can push it past this wheel if you move it out of the way a little bit, but you can rotate around. Rotates above the bicep, 360 degrees. It does have one joint on the elbow, but it gets you a little over 90. And you can rotate the fist. No ab crunch, no side to side, but it can rotate at the waist. You have front skirts that will move up out of the way. The legs can go all the way out, pretty far forwards, and about that far back. Rotate above the thigh, 360 degrees. It does have a double jointed knee, but because of this kibble on the back of the leg, you're only going to get about 90 degrees. The foot can move forwards and back a little bit on that joint. The toe can move and the heel can move, and you do have an ankle tilt, which is decent enough. So yeah, decent little bit of articulation. And of course you can put his guns all over wherever you want. You can put it in his hand. You can have him hold these little guns, or you can put them on his shoulders, or you can put them on his legs, kind of like how you did in the original toy. I like to kind of put them on his shoulders, just because that's what kind of makes sense to me. But yeah, so that is Afterburner. So we'll sit him aside for now. And I will say the thing about him is he has some trouble with standing sometimes, just because of how the feet work. So it's a little difficult to get him to actually stand, but there he is. That's good enough. So let's move on to Scattershot. So here he is. I think that he looks pretty darn good. He's kind of just a mishmash of parts, but that's kind of always what Scattershot has been before anyways. There he is from the top and from the bottom. He's pretty cool looking. His weapon here, he has a little kickstand here. In order to actually store his weapon, you have to put that kickstand up, and then you can tab it in. See, there went Afterburner falling over. You can put it underneath, but of course now he's kind of like lopsided. So just keep that in mind. Take that off and set it aside. But he does transform into something else because Scattershot is a triple changer. He turns into like a big cannon emplacement. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to start with the little fins here. Basically, you're just going to want to kind of rotate them. Let's see. Why is it not moving? Hold on. Okay. There we go. They were just kind of scary because they were really tight. You want to lift them and kind of rotate them all the way around to the back like this. And then we're just going to kind of lift these off of these little pegs here. Pick them up and kind of turn them around like so. And then we're going to kind of rotate them like this to either side. And then you're just going to kind of angle them down like this and angle them back like this. Should be in this orientation. Then we're going to flip around to the bottom. We're going to kind of lift these parts up off of here. And then these parts here, you're going to lift these up and kind of bring them down a little bit. And then the legs are going to come out and extend back down. And then we're going to kind of take this whole thing and just kind of rotate them up like this. These kind of, you want to be out of the way because this whole thing is going to lift up. Just try to keep it tabbed together. And then these white parts, ideally you want to peg into these sections here, but it's kind of a pain to get all this sorted out, so I might have to do it off camera. We'll see. Okay, so I got it. So there's a double ball joint in these little skirt parts here. You need to lift those up in a way that they can fit in between these little leg sections. And then everything just kind of folds up and it just kind of loosely sits together like this. So you just kind of bring it up into this orientation here. And you're going to take the little wings and you're going to fold them in like this. And then these panels are just going to come up. They're going to peg into the side little sections here. I'll lift it up and peg it in just like that. And see, this likes to come undone. And then these parts will come down and that little peg there, or that little peg will go into that hole. If everything is lined up correctly, which I doubt everything is, but I will try my best. There we go. Like that. Kind of. And then basically you just take his gun and you put it back into place. And then there is his like cannon mode thing. It's something. I guess it's a reference to the original toy, but it's definitely something that you can do if you want. But let's get him into robot mode. So we're gonna unplug that, take his gun back off. We're just going to kind of extend all this back out the way that it was. The front sections here, you're going to put these back down like this, or rather down in general. These little white sections are going to come up and they're going to peg into that little slot right there. Kind of hold everything in place for his knees. Once it's in the right orientation, like so. I'm gonna open up the heel section here and the toe. So it should look like this, and that is pretty much the legs. You're going to bring these back down because they were up. I'm going to bring those down. The side skirt sections here, you're going to unplug them from the sides and then just kind of rotate them around. They like to pop off these ball joints, unfortunately. Rotate them around so they are facing the front if they don't pop off. This front section here, you're going to lift this part right here, unplug this, lift it up, collapse it onto the front, and then the front panels here will just come down. And for the arms here, let's come around right here. This little red panel, you want to open that and then extend out and then push it back down, and that little red tab is going to go in that groove like that. And then the hand here, you're going to open up this panel, collapse this into this darker red part, and then bring his fist back out and then bring that back up. And then you can rotate his fist into the correct orientation like so. Do the same on the other side. Going to lift that red panel, extend, and collapse that panel back into that little gray part there. Lift up this piece, close it, open up the hand, put that back, rotate it into the correct orientation. And now we're going to take these sections here, you're going to lift them up, bring them back up, and collapse them on to the front of this. You're going to open up this big red section, you're going to push this down, and then you're going to put it back up, and it should plug back into the lower hole here on this sliding mechanism. And then basically this little white section here, you might need to get a tool. You're going to lift this up off of that because it locks all that together. And then this entire section is going to come back like this, and it's going to peg into right there. And you can kind of move these fins out of the way. Then this whole front section is going to lift up, rotate around, and then this white part will just tab right into the front right here. And then the arms, you're going to lift them up on this armature and bring them up and around like this. Or I'm sorry, I messed that up. So don't have those down yet. You actually want to, this whole section here with this maroon part, you want this whole section to come out with the combiner head right there, because you need to pull these two little tabs out. Kind of push through. There we go. Push those through there. And then you're going to bring this whole thing back, now with these tabs out. Bring these panels up, and then bring these down so they'll lock the shoulders in place. Now we can put that red part back. We're going to open this piece here, and you might have to kind of grab his little horns here to get it to come out, but you got to kind of pull his head out like this. And then it comes up on this armature on all these joints, and then that little tab will plug in right there like that. You turn his head around, put that post back down, and there he is. There is Scattershot. And yeah, he's an interesting little guy. Weird little transformation for sure. I do feel like his head is a little too big though. He looks a little funky looking, like he's wearing a big helmet. So I'm not really the biggest fan of that. He also does have some luscious lips. Look at his lips. Interesting design for the face. It's not the worst thing in the world though. I've definitely seen worse, but he is a little kind of chibi-ish, a little bit. But yeah. So he can of course hold his weapon. You just kind of rotate the handle out and you can put it into his fist. It works just fine. There you go. Not too bad. But we will, let's go over some articulation. So the head is on a kind of, it does have a base pin so it can move forwards and back, and then it's also on a ball joint so it can rock back and forth and move all around and rotate around and all that. Pretty good. No kind of joints in the torso because everything is kind of locked together for good reason. It does have a shoulder joint which will get you about that far out, and you can rotate all the way around, but the joint is quite squeaky, but that's not the end of the world. These little guns here actually are on like little ball joints and stuff, so you can position these however you want. If you want to rotate them around and do whatever with them, you totally can. They rotate above the bicep all the way around. Single joint elbow gets you under 90 degrees, not the best in the world, and the wrist can rotate. There is no ab crunch, but oh wow, there's no, oh yeah, there is. You just kind of have to lift the backpack out of the way. You can rotate the waist around. The hips, the hip skirts here are on ball joints, even though they do like to pop off, so just be aware of that. You can get them up and out of the way. The front skirts can move up, and the back skirts are on a double ball joint system, so you can kind of get them up out of the way, but within limits, you know. The hips, you can go very tight joint, about that far forwards, only about that far back. It's not the greatest, and you can get out about that far. The knees are kind of double jointed. It is kind of annoying. They kind of want to naturally go forwards, which is kind of suck, but it's not the worst thing in the world. They do go back about 90 degrees. The feet are on a ball joint, so you can rock back and forth and move forwards and back and all that. And the toes and the heels are on pins, so you can move those however you desire. So yeah, okay articulation, not the best, not the worst. Does its job. It's decent. I will say that the front section here, this crotch part just keeps wanting to come undone every time I move it around. So that's a little irritating, but it's not too bad. Very squeaky joints, but yeah. So let's get them both cleaned up and we'll do some size comparisons. All right, size comparison time. So let's start off, of course, with a New Age Minibot. There is Cliff Jumper and a New Age Carbot. There is Barricade. How about a New Age Constructicon next to Afterburner right there. And then how about Magic Square Soundwave and Magic Square's Optimus to get an idea of size. So yeah, Scattershot is a big boy over there. His buddy Afterburner is about the same-ish height as like a New Age Constructicon, probably the standard size for regular combiner limbots, so that's not half bad. And of course, I have to show with the other member that we have so far, there he is, or there they are with nose cone. So 3 out of 5. We're just waiting on Strafe and Lightspeed to finish off this set. So pretty good. They look good together. All right, and that's going to do it for Craftsman Toys DJS-02B Burst Gallop and DJS-02C Light Strike. They're Afterburner and Scattershot Legend Scale. Really like these guys. Really like the way they look. I do really think Scattershot's head is a little too big, unfortunately. And dealing with Afterburner wanting to like fall backwards is like, it's not the best in the world, but they are fun to mess with. I think that they're pretty well designed. It has me really, of course, looking forward to the other remaining 2 members of the team. But I feel like they're pretty good. The joints could probably use like a little bit of lubrication because they're very squeaky, especially on a Scattershot. The legs, the tolerances are a little weird on Afterburners actually. His legs are a little loose, which is kind of bizarre. But I mean, they function decent enough as figures, so I think I can recommend them. Because I do like these 2 packs. It's pretty cool. So eagerly awaiting the next release. But of course, thank you so much for watching. If you watched this far in the video, please consider leaving a like, comment, subscribe to my channel if you want. Please check out, I've got a playlist on my channel. It's got all my different reviews and stuff. Of course, for like Afterburner you saw a little bit earlier, you can watch his review and, you know, see what, if you want to watch any other stuff. Of course, you can, if you want to support me, you can check out my YouTube memberships if you want. If not, you can also check out my Patreon. That's more for like my 3D printing and for my Armored Core stuff, but it is probably the best way to support me. So if you feel like doing so, please, by all means. But of course, thank you so much for watching the video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.